Hey guys, this video we're going to look at how tariffs cuts in theory can improve our living standards. Now as we know, living standards is all about material and non-material, but tariff cuts usually reflect material living standards. So as we know, material living standards refer to the amount of goods and services available for consumption. So the more we can consume, the greater or the better our material living standards are. And that's a very general view of material living standards. So tariffs are what we know as import duties. So they are in fact taxes on imports. So to look at a numerical example, if a product, say clothes, or any type of clothes, say shorts, costs $50 as a very expensive pair of shorts overseas to make. If a tariff adds another $10 to it, this would mean domestic consumers, I should say, would have to pay $60 for the import. However, if domestic producers produce shorts at $55, then they would gain an advantage over these international competitors because we have to pay this $10 extra in tax. And so what tariffs aim to do, or the major role of tariffs, is that it protects domestic producers. However, those against tariffs have argued that tariffs, even though it protects domestic producers, they are in fact protecting industries that we have the comparative cost disadvantage. So coming back to this idea of material living standards and how economics is a study about maximizing our living standards. If we maximize our living standards, we are concurrently minimizing our opportunity cost. But since these industries have the comparative cost disadvantage instead of advantage, we are not maximizing our living standards because we are not minimizing our opportunity cost. So these industries allocate resources inefficiently. And even though we are buying from them, they are still disadvantaged compared to overseas producers who can produce at only $50 per pair of shorts. Now what this means is that the positive is that it protects local jobs and incomes of those who are in this trade for, say, shorts. However, what this means is that the government is protecting these industries with this comparative cost disadvantage, and that they are inefficient, and therefore society is actually worse off, because they should be only paying $50 for shorts, but instead they're paying $55 for domestic pairs of shorts. And so that extra $5 is actually wasted, where they could have used that extra $5 to purchase something else in order to maximize their material living standards. And another argument against tariffs, so arguments against, well, the major argument against is that it encourages inefficiency. So as we know, aggregate supply side policies are all about improving our efficiency. And since these firms are protected by tariffs, or these taxes on imports, they have no or little incentive to be more efficient. So what this means is that these firms will start getting complacent and still produce at $55, where they could cut their costs and become more efficient if tariffs are removed. So when tariffs are removed, this actually exposes this local firm who is producing at $55 here to actually compete with international firms which are producing at a lower cost. And so by exposing them to stiffer competition, this would force the firms to fight or flight. What this means is that, so this is an argument for tariffs. It means that if firms don't compete, or if they don't try to cut their cost cutting to become more efficient, they would no longer survive in this industry, as we've assumed that we are all rational consumers and that we're going to look for the cheapest product at $50. So unless they cut their cost from $55 to $50, then this firm will not be able to survive in the international market. And although this may be bad for that firm, it is overall better for the society, because we can reallocate the resources that firm used, say the renting space, the labor workers, the capital, the equipment, and all their incomes, into areas that we have the comparative cost advantage, where we can actually compete internationally. So that's how tariffs in theory, or tariff cuts in theory, can promote A, efficiency, B, cost cutting, and 3, even innovation. So by cutting tariffs, or cutting these taxes on imports, it allows international trade to happen, and it facilitates greater relationship, or better relationships between us and our trading partners, so that we actually improve their living standards as well as ours. So as we consume more of their goods and services, their producers are better off. And so our consumers, by the same token, are better off, because we are paying less money to purchase the same good or service. So by liberalizing our trade through tax cuts, in theory, our material living standards should improve, and as well our efficiency in both production and resource allocation.